Here we again have a piecewise function. The first part is where you have a cos x, and it's cos x for x less than pi over 2, and there you can see it. This one actually continues there, but this is the cos graph, and it goes up until pi over 2. It's not in, pi over 2 is not included because of that unequal sign. Then you have another section of this function, it's x squared plus k, but you don't know k, so that it's from there on it's x squared plus k. So it's something, I've drawn how x squared plus k could look like without any restrictions, and so it can have all these values. Obviously now because of this restriction, x greater or equal to pi over 2, it's going to probably lie something like this, but anything greater than pi over 2. But now the question is determine k, this value k, so that fx is continuous. So it means that there at pi over 2, the two graphs must be continuous. So this x squared plus k must run like this, something like this. But now we must show it algebraically, and that's not always that easy. So they must, at least we know that they must meet at x is equal to pi over 2. Now to determine that, we you need to work out the limit from the left hand side. So the limit as x approaches pi over 2 from the negative side of fx must be the same as the limit of x approaches pi over 2 from the positive side. So these two limits must be the same. Okay, so how would we determine that? Well, it's easy in a sense, because you say where cos is pi over 2, well, we will get a value there. If it's cos pi over 2, must be equal to this part of the function. Now we substituted pi over 2 there, so we must actually substitute pi. Let's just substitute pi over 2 there. So it's cos pi over 2. I'm just writing it out neatly. So, and it's pi over 2 squared plus k. And all we need to do now is to simplify this. I'm just going to shift it a bit down. So then cos pi over 2, well, we know that's 0 because the y is 0 there, where x is pi over 2 for cos, and that is just pi squared over 4 plus k. So if you take that to the other side, it's minus pi squared over 4 is equal to k. So when the k is minus pi squared over 4, then this section of the graph, when the k is pi squared over 4, then we know this graph will be continuous, because then this section is x squared plus k, or x squared plus minus pi squared over 4 will lie there, and it will then cause this piecewise function to be continuous.